have been warned. We have been warned. We have been threatened. We have been told through official channels, unofficial channels, threats, you name it, stop investigating Sandy Hook. Now, when this first happened a few years ago, I didn't come out of the gate saying it was a false flag. And I got criticized by a lot of our listeners who were smart folks and who went and really investigated that, hey, Alex, you need to look at this again. All I know is that the official story doesn't add up, and that when retired state police officers and school investigation experts and school safety experts and others began to investigate it, they were threatened. No emergency helicopters were sent. The ambulances came an hour and a half later and parked down the road. DHS an hour and a half later with a timestamp put up signs saying sign in here. They had porta potties being delivered within an hour and a half. It looked like a carnival. Looked like a big PR stunt. Came out that Bloomberg, a day before, sent an email out to his gun control groups in all 50 states saying, prepare to roll. We're a major operation coming up. That came out in the news. We have the emails from city council back and forth and the school talking about it being shut down a year before. We have the school then being demolished and the records being sealed. We have videos that look just incredibly suspicious, where people are laughing and everything, and they start huffing and puffing and start crying on TV, which is pure acting method. You've got a degree, Rob, in theater. I mean, this is something that even lay people notice. So I began to investigate. They had a weird anti-terrorism unit from the state nearby with men in the woods, which were on video from helicopter. Then they said that didn't exist. And so we'll recap some of the history of this. But now, your uncle, John Doe, Navy SEAL, retired FBI agent, works for a successful security company. I had missed this episode of the Nightly News back on June 4th. And then again last week when you did an update. And then I heard you talking about it yesterday. I knew that we'd sent our reporter, Dan Badandi, there for days to cover the city council hearings about it and the fact that they're sealing everything. And then you just said, oh, yes, and that's why I'm trying to get my uncle to tell me more, because he's been in John Gotti hearings and been involved in huge cases, a pretty prominent FBI agent before he retired. And in his words, he said he's seen the most secretive mafia stuff ever, and he's never seen people more close-lipped. He's never seen something where it basically stinks. And we'll use his words, but the headline here is retired FBI agent investigating Sandy Hook. I mean, that was just amazing to me that so much goes on around here that I miss some of what's happening. Next time a former Navy SEAL FBI agent, I don't care if it's your uncle, is investigating something like this, we want to hear about it. I want to try to get him on. I know he's going to get heat probably, and they'll probably try to threaten him, but really kudos to him. I mean, you told me that he went and investigated it because other insiders said, you need to go look at this. I guess people currently in the FBI aren't allowed to. But, man, the fix is in. So, Rob Doe, tell us about your uncle. Tell us about all this. I wish we'd have gotten more than a 2-minute interview with him, with Badandi. Badandi did a great job. I just wish I'd have known about this. I would have gone up there. Halbig tried to get me to go. I just am trying to launch the TV network and the new website and everything else. But, I mean, this is just so big. And the more we look at Sandy Hook, I don't want to believe it's a false flag. I don't know if kids really got killed, but you got green screen with Anderson Cooper, where I was watching the video and the flowers and plants are blowing in some of them, and then they blow again the same way. It's looped, and then his nose disappears. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fake. The whole thing is just, I don't know what happened. It's kind of like you see a hologram at Disney World in the haunted house. You know, I don't know how they do it, but it's not real. When you take your kids to see the haunted house and ghosts are flying around, they're not real, folks. It's staged. I mean, the magician grabs a rabbit out of his hat. I know he's got a box under the table that he reaches in and gets the rabbit. I don't know what the trick is here. I got a good suspicion. But when you've got Wolfgang Halbig, who was the top, 2020, CNN, ran the most successful school safety course in the country, got the contracts at Columbine, making millions of dollars a year. He believed it was real. People called him. He went and investigated. No paperwork, no nothing. It's bull. And now an FBI retired agent who retired, with decorations. I mean, this is just unprecedented. I can't believe I missed this. Recap what happened. We've got some of the questions from Badandi, but he told you a lot more. Well, just tell us what he said.
Sure. Well, I first got a text from Badandi, and it was this picture that they just showed, and it's Dan standing with my uncle.
Let's show that document. And, shot of your phone.
They just shot it. So it's right there, and I'm like, why is Dan Badandi standing with my uncle?
You didn't even know this.
No context.
You didn't even know he was there.
I had no idea he was there. And I texted Dan. I said, why are you with my uncle? He goes, oh, he was at the hearing.
It's your dad's brother.
I was like, what? So I called up my uncle, and I ended up talking to him. I called him that night that I got the text, and he's like, hey, let's talk tomorrow. So I called him the next day. I was actually at the dry cleaner picking up stuff to go to Bilderberg. And I'm talking to him for about 15 minutes in the parking lot. And he goes, I go, why? Who told you about this? Why'd you go up there? He goes,
did he say this was off record? I don't want to get him in trouble.
Everything that I talked about, he said we could talk.
Okay.
And so I said, well, how did you? What made you want to go up there to the hearings? This is the second hearing, and he said, well, a friend of mine told me that I should go up there and look at it. There's some suspicious stuff going on, and so this is after the first hearing came out, where there was all kind of. You could watch the lawyer Monty Frank is his name, who also has a vested interest in keeping the Sandy Hook narrative alive because he runs a Team 26. He's a cycling guy, and he runs this big donation firm where they run around on bikes. And
it's all Bloomberg anti-gunners.
Right. Oh, yeah. He's a big anti-gunner. He's a big anti-gunner.
This is about making them all, basically torch bearers for the victims, the martyrs.
Right. And so he is the main attorney that you'll see in the videos when we go to those. He's the ball-headed guy. And he even told some people who were subpoenaed not to show up. 4 people didn't show up to the first hearing because he told them not to show up.
And Halbig is subpoenaing them.
Yeah, Halbig was subpoenaed, and it costs like $300 for each one of these subpoenas.
And why would Halbig stop making his millions of dollars a year, make his wife mad at him, and do all this? And he had government come to his house twice and threaten him to stop.
Yeah. He's only interested in the truth. He actually gave money. He even admitted that he gave money to the Sandy Hook Fund in the beginning when it first happened because he felt so bad about it. But he keeps finding all these questions, and it's little things, but it's following paper trails. All these bureaucracies have paper trails. And it just doesn't add up. And that's what my uncle said.
So, tell us everything he said.
So I said, what did you think? He said, well, I've never sat in a court proceeding like this ever in my life. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you got this small town, the biggest event in their history by far, and nobody knows nothing. Nobody remembers anything, and there's no paperwork for anything.
Paperwork.
I just don't understand how this is going on in this small town. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, even when we were going after the mob, he said
Gotti.
They would remember. Well, Gotti, he didn't say Gotti, but I remember back in the day, my dad taught, he was, working on.
So it was Gotti.
Yeah. Well, one of the guys, there was a lot of different mobsters they were going after back in the 80s and 90s. I guess he retired sometime in the 90s. But he said, we never had a case where nobody knew nothing, he said, I just couldn't understand it. How in this small town, nobody knows anything. The school board guy doesn't know anything. The maintenance guy doesn't know anything. The head select woman doesn't know anything. Stuff is being delivered, and nobody knows how it got there.
So this town's mascot is Sergeant Schultz.
Essentially, yeah. And there you got that checkout sign. He thought was a big deal. He's like, wow, what was DHS doing there? So that's the big question.
How were they there an hour and a half after the shooting? Helicopter, and there's a check-in sign with porta potties being delivered.
Right. There's the check-in sign right there. There's a shot of that. You can see it. It'll pop up there. Everyone must check in. And so they asked the select woman who they say runs the town, essentially. Her name's Pat Ladroa. And they ask her, did you pay for this sign? She goes, nobody paid for this sign. No, nothing came out of.
No one knows who delivered the signs to direct everyone.
Well, they ask her.
The porta potties.
And she goes.
But no rescue helicopters and the ambulances are held down the.
Exactly. But we got electronic signs for everybody to check in.
And clipboards.
She goes, I believe it was Homeland Security. So she believes Homeland Security delivered that sign.
Good God.
So they were already on the scene right after it happened.
Let's remember, they ran fast and furious, killing thousands of Mexicans, hundreds of Americans, including 6 law enforcement. to blame the Second Amendment. CBS News got the memo.
Yeah.
That was a false flag, killing thousands, to blame the Second Amendment and martyr Mexicans and say you're racist if you don't turn your guns in. So they've done it before, and my gosh, they've done it again. Keep going.
Well, guys, actually, let's play the clip from my uncle. It's actually clip number 2. We'll play that one first. It's really short. Dan,
I want to play it, but tell us more of what he said, because you told me more than that.
Okay. Well, he was concerned that because he had believed in the initial story, the official story. And he said, well, now this doesn't add up. If you have all these people, they should just be giving the paperwork and going on with their lives. If they don't want, because right now it's all being.
It's 101. They're covering it up.
He goes, nobody acts like that if they're on.
It's like if a cop pulls you over and you're busy cramming stuff under the seat.
Right, saying don't worry, hold on, I'm looking for my license or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody has the proper paperwork. Nobody can deliver it. They deliver videos without timestamps from police squad cars. There's videos without timestamps that they give to them and say, these are the copies from the squad car. Yet you go online and you can see squad car video from the same squad car and it's got time code on it. So how did they give him video without time code and he's viewing it at the police station?
This is mega massive cover up.
It's crazy. So,
Good God.
he just basically, my uncle doesn't say much. He's the kind of guy that doesn't say a lot. He kind of, so Dan, I don't know how Dan figured out he was my uncle. But he went over and talked to him.
By the way, your uncle's not telling you he's up there.
No. He never told me he was going up there. I got the text from Dan. That's how I found out he was there. And then I texted him and then I called him the next day because he couldn't talk at the time. It was like probably 11:30 at night. That night, it was June 3rd.
Well, I suggest you call him and see what he thinks now, see if he's been threatened or anything. But please continue with what else he told you. So, former Navy SEAL, retired FBI agent, Sandy Hook doesn't add up.
Pretty much. He
said, quote, that's the quote, doesn't add up.
Well, we could take the quote from him. He said he's never seen anything like this before.
But to you, what did he say?
That's what, and to me, that what he's saying is that from all of his experience in the years that he has worked as an FBI agent, he's retired. He went into the FBI pretty much out of the Navy. He went to the Naval Academy. He was a Navy SEAL. This guy is on the up and up. I've known him all my life. He doesn't tell you what he does in terms of, when we used to go up there and visit him when he was working, and he would just leave and come back and, he was doing casework or whatever. But from what he told me, he said that this thing doesn't add up and it's the weirdest court proceeding he's ever been in his entire life. And he's been in a lot of court proceedings. Let me tell you,
we get more threats over this than anything. I mean, they're hiding something.
They definitely are.
Let's ask your opinion, your gut level, without getting into the personalities involved. You can clearly see they're scared. The wagons are circled. They could just release all this. There is no paperwork.
Yeah, there is no.
I mean, that's what it's all. So, I guess totally made up with green screens, everything. And we've got them on green screens. What is going on here? That's how evil these people are, is that they can have CNN involved, all these people. It's like a Manhattan Project of the gun grabbers.
Alex, you have kids. If your kids go on a field trip or anything, my kids, if they go on a field trip to the park next door, we have to sign a permission slip. Okay? There's no permission slips, no nothing for the Sandy Hook Choir to go down to the Super Bowl. So that was one of the things Wolfgang was asking for through the school board. He's like, where is this approved? There's no mention of it anywhere. Like, hey, we're glad our kids went to the Super Bowl. Let's give them a hand. Let's give them some recognition. And he was at a school board meeting at Sandy Hook, and they were talking about all this other event that happened, and they're making a big deal out of it. Why would they not make any deal out of kids going to sing at the Super Bowl? They're being identified on CBS
But what about
News
how for a mass shooting in Pakistan, they got photos of Sandy Hook kids?
They got photos of one of the kids. Yeah. It is just, it's weirder and weirder and weirder. Yeah, you can see that. He died. They're holding pictures of him. And it's not just one time. He's on another billboard. You could look, yeah, as you scroll down, you could see.
It's like the same PR company is running
again.
this.
Yeah, right there. It's not like.
And then they try to hit us with fake copyright deals whenever we show this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not our,
we have nothing.
There it is. It's on 3 different locations.
All right. TV, radio listeners don't know what we're talking about. Show folks the article, and I'll give the radio listeners the headlines so they can see it for themselves. Mystery. Sandy Hook victim dies again in Pakistan. Photo of child killed at Sandy Hook shows up in Pakistan school shooting at multiple rallies.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on to something big here. Let's go ahead and go to part of this clip with your uncle. This is John Dew, our news director's uncle, that we just suddenly see at the Sandy Hook hearing with our reporter. Here's Dan Badandi.
And what do you think? You witnessed the whole hearing here. Was you here last time too?
No.
No, but being here today, what did you think of the whole thing?
Very strange.
Very strange?
Very strange situation, yes.
Yeah, and so what do you expect to come out of this? You think they're going to try to cover this up, or is this going to go anywhere?
I really don't know. I've never seen anything like this before.
And again, I'm glad Badani was there. Great job, but I wish it would have gone on more.
Yeah. I tell you, my uncle doesn't talk that much. And
But look at the look on his face.
you know, and yeah, he's like, and when I was talking to him, he wasn't saying a lot, but he's like, Robert, this is strange. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. And he's been in court cases. It's not like his first.
But you said he also said it doesn't add up.
Oh yeah, nothing adds up. It adds up.
What was his exact quote? Because I want to put it in an article.
I would say take that from there.
Sure, but let me explain something. You're a reporter.
Right.
You're a news director. This is your uncle. It's incredible for you to quote somebody. Go back to the memory. What did he say?
I'll think about the exact words, but from what I remember, because I was in the car driving while I was talking to him. I had an earpiece in.
I understand.
Talking to him. Because I wanted to get something out of him before we did the show that night on the 4th, that day on the 4th. And I wanted to talk about it. I said, hey, I've got this short interview with you, and you're saying it's strange, it doesn't add up. He's like, I've never been in a court proceeding like that ever, where people don't know anything.
And here's the news. He's up there and not telling the family.
Yeah.
That's it. And then somehow, I don't know, I guess Badani probably asked him his name, and he said Dew, and he goes, I know a guy named Dew. Well, you got to call Badani and get him on the news to find out how he knew.
Yeah.
And I want to make a big deal out of this. It's a big deal.
Well, and tomorrow there's actually the final, I guess, the closing arguments. They had 2 hearings now. Now they're going to have the closing arguments tomorrow.
Well, will you please call your uncle before they try to get to him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually texted him, told him about the third hearing that's going to go on. I said, hey, you need to check this out. He hasn't gotten back with me on that. So.
Where does he live, up there?
Yeah. He lives up. He doesn't live in Connecticut. He lives south of New York City.
Oh, so New Jersey.
Yeah.
Anyways, come on. It's not a secret agent thing. You can tell. The people that did Sandy Hook knows where your uncle lives.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Larry Nichols gives his home address out. It's like, by the way, Larry Nichols is on Thursday. All right, dude, good job covering all this. We only skim the surface. I mean, I don't want to be the one reporting all this. It's super dangerous, but it's just the truth. About a year and a half ago, Anthony Gucciardi just said, man, I just did a Dr. Grip's liver cleanse, the one he recommends, and he's developing this proprietary stuff he's testing on himself right now. You really ought to do it. The results are dramatic after 6 days. And I'm like, no way I'm doing it. I don't believe that there's giant black or green balls in my gallbladder. And this is how ignorant I am. And he's like, look at it online. I'm not looking at it online, because stuff like that grosses me out. I don't want to go there. Well, finally, about 6 months ago, they convinced me to do it.
I personally think everybody should go through a liver cleansing if you haven't done one. Results speak for themselves. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have done this, and it dates back even 1,000 years, drinking oils to cleanse and purge the liver. Actually, the Greeks and over in India with Ayurvedic medicine have done it the same way. But how it works is, what you should do, and this is what our proprietary research led us to do back starting in the early 90s when we were looking at the best ways to cleanse the liver, was to develop an herbal formula that contains herbs that will help soften or break down these globules or these stones in the liver and the gallbladder.
This Liver Shield is the high-quality proprietary liver Trex developed by Dr. Grip that we've private labeled through him, and it's extremely strong, extremely concentrated, extremely high-powered. You combine that with the Oxy Powder, oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, dietary supplement, clinically tested. We have them discounted at the lowest price you're going to find anywhere. InfoWarsLife.com. Obviously, folks should probably talk to their healthcare provider before they do this. This is one of the single biggest results, if not the biggest, I've ever seen in my life, literally in a 6-day period. This is something anybody can do. Obviously, the literature is well known on what liver cleanses do. This is the best one out there from our research. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139.